So far we've talked about places where dreams come true, right? And then we talked about dreamers, what kind of people see their dreams come true, and then obstacles that get in the way of dreamers. Today I want to look at just how big people can dream. So if you had, well, not quite unlimited resources, but if you had $1 billion a month or more to play with, how would you play? $1 billion a month to play with, how would you play? And then I've looked at Facebook and then LinkedIn and then Twitter, and today I want to talk about Google+. Is anybody here on Google+? Okay, 1, 2.5, right? 1, 2.5 on Google+. Google, and I'm going to use this word intentionally, Google is a fantastic company. Fantastic. Now, I don't mean that in the same sense that you might think of fantastic, but you'll see what I mean by that word when we get down to the end of the talk. It is indeed a fantastic company. What that company can do, what they are attempting to do is to organize the world. They'll never do it because my desk will always look like my desk, but they might organize the world all except for Bill. But Google's mission is not only to organize the world's information, and that is all of the information in the world. And they're not thinking, well, we just want to get all of the online information. They're thinking any information that is accessible, anything that qualifies as something people might want to know, they're trying to figure out how to grab that and make it universally accessible and useful. You know, it's one thing to be accessible. I could drive up to the University of Michigan Library, and there it is. Right down the street from me is Stanford Library. Incredible library. It's accessible. All I have to do is walk in there, and there it is. But that doesn't equal useful to me. You know, I still have to get out the card, or I have to do the search. So they want to make it, you know, they want to organize it, they want to accessible, and they want it to be useful. Larry Page, we'll meet him in a minute, and Melissa Meyer, when they're both in their early 20s, they were thinking about how far does this go? And they came up on the idea that they wanted all of the books in the world accessible. Now, we know that all books are not online. And so they began to think, well, I just wonder how many books are there in the world? Now, not books written in English, books written in any language. How many books in the world are there? And so while Larry was trying to figure that out, he was trying to think, well, how many libraries are there? What's the average number of books per library? And what is the average number of pages per book per library? He starts making these calculations. While he's doing that, Melissa Meyer picks up a book, a physical book, walks over to the copy machine, turns it upside down, and pushes a button. And then does it again. Does it again. And they have a clock out, they have a stopwatch out, and they're timing her to see how long does it take to copy 2 pages out of a book. And she finishes the whole book, and then she does another book, and because they want to get a good average figure. So they know how long it takes to copy 2 pages out of a book, while he calculates how many books there are, how many pages there are, and how many different languages there are, so that they can get some idea of how long it might take. Because they want to know what they're up against. It's not, well, can we do this or not? We just want to know how long it's going to take. They have made up their mind that they're going to copy every page out of every book in the world, put it up online, you know, have a digital converter so that we can search it, find it, grab it, read it, and be at our disposal. Well, the only thing that got in that way of that dream is the lawyers. That's right, the lawyers got in the way because nobody had ever tried to do that before. Well, they're not trying to take everybody's information and give it away. What they're trying to do is put everybody's information online, give the first chapter away so that people can read it and decide whether they want to go into it deeper. Well, that makes sense to me. We do that at Barnes & Noble, or we used to. We do that on Amazon, take a look inside. Well, they're trying to give us the ability to take a look inside of every single written, papered, printed material in the entire world. And that's just one aspect. They've also got all the digital aspects. So they're trying to get everything and make it accessible to us and make it useful to us. Google Plus is an enigma of sorts. Not everybody knows what to do with it. Facebook's kind of easy. You just kind of hang out with friends and family and share whatever. and hope you don't embarrass yourself, or hope that when you embarrass yourself, people forget about it quickly. And they usually do. Twitter is, well, I try to gather a following, and I just want to tell people what I'm doing, and so I'm famous, so I tell people I'm famous, Shaq O'Neal or whatever, or Kobe O'Brien. So Twitter is kind of like a mass instant media. Or if you stumble upon something like if you're lucky or unlucky enough to be in an airplane crash and survive, you can come out and twit about what you just went through. And that's what Twitter does. And LinkedIn it's a great business network. It really is. They've separated themselves. They're not trying to be corny. They're not trying to be goofy. They're trying to be useful. They're trying to be practical. They want to be a tool for people who want to tie up and do business. Well, Google, what's Google Plus have to offer? Well, Google Plus is all about telling people online something that they found that's cool. I just read something, and I know somebody who needs to know what this is. And I want to share something online that I found that I think is good. And so there's a little button on there. It's just a plus. You click the plus button. Give it a thumbs up. Not even a like. It's not a like. It's a plus. I want to tell somebody, and you can separate those somebodies, and they call them circles. You can separate those somebodies by groups. You can do family. You can do friends. You can do acquaintances, and you can do business connections. And so it's all about us doing Google's job for them. All right. So see, robots. They create these, they're search bots is what they're robots. They're little, they just crawl around. And bots are stupid. They can't read. They can't make subjective determinations, this is good, this is bad. But real people can do that. So what Google wants us to do is read all this stuff online and make that subjective determination for them. This is good. This is not good. This is good, this is good. This is good and it's relevant toward business people. This is good and it's relevant towards my friends. This is good and this is relevant for my family. So Google has added a dimension to it that they're employing us to let them know this is really good because I'm a real person and I read that. Does that make sense? And not only are we doing Google's job for them, and that being said, Google provides a tremendous service to us as well. If all the information in the world is accessible and useful to me, I have no problem with giving back, giving my opinions on that sort of thing. And so what Google has also done, how many of y'all have a Gmail account? Gmail. If you have a Gmail account, you can create a Google authorship. And so I have Google Plus, I have plus.google.com/Bill Belew, I think it is. And I also have a special code that whenever I publish something online, that code goes with it. There's a code, it's longer than a credit card number, it's like really funky, and then it goes with me whenever I hit the publish button. And so when I make a determination that something is good or bad, I don't make it bad, but when I give it a plus, when I give it a Google Plus, that code is tracked. So they'll know who it is who has said this is good or this is bad, because they have seen what else I have written, what else I have contributed to the internet. And so when everybody does that, then you have people of credibility or not. If I have written a lot of things and a lot of people have given me a +1 because they subjectively determined that's good, and the person who gets all those +1s makes another subjective determination that's good, you see, then we get some momentum here. We can actually see whether things are good or not. And that's where Google Plus fits in. We are doing their job, and they're helping us tell other people what's good on the web and what's not. So when you click on the button, I think I have an example. When you click on the button, now this is going to be a little bit difficult, but so I can share what's new. I found something, I can write in there, listen, I found this, I put that in there, and then we have what's called a short URL. It's just the same thing as what's up on top, except it's a little bit short. I can drop that in there, and then I can decide who I want to share that with. If I find me a good photo, or if I find a good link, a link is to a place where I found something, or if I found a good video, or if I know about a good event. I just drop that in there, and after I've dropped that in there, I can decide who I want to share that with. Here's a record of photos I've shared, of YouTubes I've viewed, and things that I have +1. So I begin to build a history of things that I like, things that I think are good, and things that I think are not good. Because the way I can vote what is not good is because I went there and I didn't do anything. it didn't warrant me giving it a plus. And so Google doesn't know your name, but they know your IP address. And so that is plenty trackable. So this IP address is plus that page when it went there, but it didn't plus that page when it went there. The page that didn't get plus is not going to be as valuable as the place that does get plus. So do you see how we are making subjective determinations and adding quality overall to the job that Google is trying to do for us? You see how that works? So Google Plus, it's a great tool if we use it well. So, but does Google Plus matter? Here is a chart we've seen before. 400 million Google Plus people is up to 550, maybe 600 million now. They came into the party very late. And they're about half the size of Facebook now. But they don't get that daily active usage. So, I mean, 75 versus 552 million. That's because that's not what it's for. We get online. How often do we get online to read and study and research and know? How often does that happen? Does that happen every single day? Well, it does for some people, but not everybody. It happens for about 75 million people to do it daily. Other people do it whenever they do it. You see, there's a different emphasis there. If the number's lower, we don't care because the numbers add up better. It adds up better. So 80% of users log in at least once a week. So people who use Google+, about 80% of them once a week. This is the only social medium where men outrank women, almost 2 to 1. On the others, the women outrank the men, 55 to 45, 56 to 43 or 44, whatever that is. But on this one, men 2 to 1 are engaged more than women are. And then people, about 60% of them log in every day. Now, if we had a bigger screen, what we see here is that 55 plus, this is our demographic, 55 plus, we have 7% are in the men's category, 3% in the women's category. So 55 plus people are still becoming engaged. It's not like, it's not for me. Well, it might not be for you if you don't read, research, and care to make a judgment. If you do read, research, search, surf, and make determinations, if you do those things, then it's for you. You see, that's where it falls in. Mostly men on there. YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. Remember that Stephen Chen? He was number 7, number 8, or number 12, I forget. The 12th employee to be hired by Facebook. Facebook hired Stephen Chen, gave him the shares, but you have to work so long before those shares become vested and, give you 1 million shares. They're vested at $17 or whatever. Well, he quit after 2 weeks. Stephen Chen quit after 2 weeks. I don't want to work for Facebook. I want to do my own thing. So he and his buddy went up to San Mateo, which is right up the street from us. I live in Sunnyvale, and then comes Mountain View, then comes Palo Alto, then comes Menlo Park, then comes Redwood City, then comes Hillsdale, I think, and then comes San Mateo. So we're just right up 101 between San Jose and San Francisco. They went up to San Mateo. Stephen Chen and his buddy went up to San Mateo and created YouTube. And 13 months or 14 months later, Google bought it from them for $1.65 billion. So instead of making $17 million with vested shares for Facebook or whatever that was, he made $800 million in about less than a year and a half. But so Google owns YouTube, and every minute 700 YouTube videos are shared on Twitter. We still got Facebook, LinkedIn, the others where we share, right? Just on Twitter, 4 billion video views are seen on YouTube every day. 4 billion. There's only 7 billion people in the world. Well, some people watch more than one, right? That's equal to half of the world is on YouTube every day. More than half of the world goes to YouTube to watch something every day. How many of y'all watch YouTube? About half. Yeah, look at that. Every day, YouTube mobile on my cell phone, I can watch YouTube. My little girl loves to watch YouTube. I would tell you we watch something on YouTube almost every morning on the way to kindergarten, but her mother's here, and I would not let her mother know that. So we don't really do that, do we? Yeah, nah. But she's 6 years old, and she knows how to search. I'm sorry, she knows how to search on YouTube for things that she's looking for. That's cool. 6 years old, and she's already begun to inquire and search, find. This is relevant. I don't like this. Daddy, this is in a different language. We can sing let it go, in about 13 different languages now. And she found that. Well, that's cool. So the other day, she and I are at the Walt Disney Family Museum. The Walt Disney Family Museum is in San Francisco, and I'm reading this, that, and the other. She comes up, pulls on me, Daddy, did you know this? That's cool. Don't we love it when our children teach us? Absolutely. Absolutely. And she's 6 years old, and she's already discovering things that I have yet to discover. It's on her level, of course. 600 million views on YouTube. 1 hour video is uploaded on YouTube every second. 60 hours of YouTube every minute. You would need 60 screens that you could watch forever. And you would never catch up with everything that's being put up on YouTube every moment. And this is owned by Google. And it's shareable, and it's organized, and it's accessible, and it's useful. That's a tremendous task done by a company that's very unassuming. It's very ugly. They live in a very ugly building. A very big square white building, ugly, just right down the street. The only thing that's unique about Google is when you get out in front of the Android building, they named their Android, well, that's the system that runs our cell phones that are non-Apple, that runs the cell phones. They put giant donuts and cupcakes. I mean, seriously, a giant cupcake and donuts and bagels and Kit Kat bars, because they named their operating systems after sweets. Jelly Bean. Right. Why do they do that? The answer is, who knows? Because they're them and they do what they want. They have a culture there. You know that the Google employees only have to work 4 days a week. They go to work 5 days a week, but the 5th day, they're given 20% of their work time as free. They can do absolutely anything they please on 1 day out of any 5 days of the week. But anything that they do or discover or create, it belongs to Google. But their work 4 days a week, and the 5th day, whichever day they choose, they can do whatever. And they come up with some good ideas, they share them, they pass them around, and it belongs to Google. Isn't that interesting? So, never a bad time for a good idea. We've seen this before. Never a bad time for a good idea. I think Google was founded, I got my next slide here, 1997. Google founders. This is when Larry met Sergey. Larry meets Sergey. Larry's a student Sergey is a student at Stanford. And Larry's a student at the University of Michigan. And he wants to get his master's degree, so he wants to go to the best university in the world. Of course, he thinks that's Stanford, so off he comes to Stanford. And so Larry comes into Stanford, and Sergey is a graduate assistant. It's his job to try to persuade Larry to come to the school here. Well, they don't get along very well because of whatever, but for no good reason, Larry said, well, I'm going to go here anyway. So they strike up a friendship. They begin to want to know where things are in all this giant building of Stanford. How do we begin to find things here? And you see, there is the birth of the search function. And someone else had done the same thing, and this is Jack Ma when he met Jerry Yang. Jerry Yang had done the search function for Yahoo, right? So Jack Ma owns Alibaba. Alibaba is the Chinese version of Amazon.com, which we know is huge. Well, imagine Amazon.com 4 times bigger. Exactly, because China has 4 times as many people as we do, and Alibaba is the number one. Well, it's called Taobao, but then they all kind of fit together. But Jack Ma, he's a little tiny fella. I met him in San Francisco, little tiny fella. He was an English teacher. And Jerry Yang, when he's from Taiwan, he goes to the Great Wall of China, doesn't speak Chinese all that well. He's visiting the Great Wall of China, needs an English translator. Here comes little Jack Ma. He becomes his translator. This is the Great Wall. It was built, blah, blah, blah. And that's where they struck up a friendship. Next thing you know, Jerry Yang buys into Jack Ma's idea of this Alibaba, this online transaction. Before long, Yahoo runs into trouble. Alibaba starts buying back part of Yahoo. You see, and it goes back and forth. They start feeding off of each other, blah, blah, blah. The point is, there's never a bad time for a good idea. Impact. What impact does Google? This is Marissa Myers. Remember I was telling you about the girl on the copy machine? This is her, Marissa Myers, just a pretty little girl, 38, 39 years old now, CEO of Yahoo. Yahoo stole her away from Google. That'd be kind of hard to do if you're employee number 8 or number 16 or whatever it is. What could entice you to come away? Well, how about running the second largest online entity. The second largest portal. A portal is where you go online and you decide, oh, from here I'm going to go everywhere else. That would be Yahoo. Yahoo's still the largest portal in Japan, for example. In Asia, it's one of the most powerful portals. These days, people get online, they go to Google, or they used to get online and go to AOL. They used to get online and go to somewhere. Well, in Asia, the largest portal, people go online, they hook up yahoo.com or yahoo.com.cn.jp for Japan, .cn for China. They go to Yahoo, read the news, and then decide where they want to go. And she runs that all over the world. She has a little kindergarten room next door because she was 4 months pregnant when they hired her. And she was trained at Google. This is Jack Ma, Alibaba, 215 million bucks. Tango is a messaging application is when you have a cell phone, you want your cell phone to do something else, you give it an application. You say, I want you to do this, and so you attach something to it so it can do something else. Well, you want your cell phone to be able to do something, other kind of messaging. Well, this Yahoo, who met Alibaba, who now Alibaba's just threw $215 million at the Valley. Tango is about, gosh, I could walk there in 40 seconds from the Hacker Dojo where I go to work sometimes. Just a very unassuming Billy with a name like Tango. But now they're valued at more than $1 billion. So you see I don't want to call it incest or inbreeding, but you see the interrelations that's going on here. And all of this starts out of the Google monster, the Google monster. Google started in the garage of this building here, just a house. The woman's house, I can't even pronounce her last name, I'll show it to you, but they knock on the door, say we need somewhere to work. They open up their garage, just like Hewlett Packard did, just like Steve Jobs did, just like a bunch of other people did. Went into the garage, they set up shop, and off they went. I think this is her. Yep, there's Susan, anybody got it? Wojcicki maybe? Wojcicki? She just let them out their garage. She's now employee number 4. They hired her. She managed the entire HR structure, among other things. Sergey Brin ends up marrying her sister. And now they have 2 kids, and she's worth $83 billion or some huge number. And the way that happened was, here, use my garage if you like. While they were gone, one day while she and her husband were out doing whatever they do, they ordered a new refrigerator. Well, the refrigerator shows up on the door, and nobody's home except for Larry and Sergey. They're in the garage. Oh, that refrigerator, well, you should put it in here. So they put it in the garage. They took their new refrigerator because they thought Susan bought it for them. So they would stop going into the house. And from that point on, Google feeds all of their employees. They've always fed all their employees, and they keep feeding all their employees out of that one incident. And they feed them only the highest quality, organic, blah, blah, blah food. Well, just because some mother needed a little bit extra cash and didn't mind sharing her garage, right? Angels. Promised you at some point you'd meet an angel. Well, I'm going to introduce you to a few angels. Remember the idea of the venture capitalists and angel investors? People make a busload of money. They got money if they don't know what to do with. Well, these are people who were all Google employees. We've got number 12, I think, here, Steve. Sandwich board dude. He's not a sandwich board dude. He's got money out the wazoo. People have money. Who do I give it to? Seriously. Well, I've got money. Who do I give it to? If you've got an idea, they've got money. Now, they're not going to throw it at you, but they will give it to you as an angel investor. The difference between angel investors, angels will give it to you and then step away, where a venture capitalist is a lot of hands-on. So how am I going to get my return on this? When's my money going to come back? And then there's George Herrick. He's an angel investor now, right? And then there's Terry. And then there's Heather, I think her name is. All in the top 15, top 12 employees of Google have now quit, took their stock, invested it, got their money out of it, and they're sitting on these piles of cash wondering, what am I going to do now? How can I change the world with this? Has anybody got any ideas? Got any ideas? That's worth a couple million, worth tens of millions, worth hundreds of millions? There's people waiting. I could not be more serious here. There are people sitting on piles of cash looking for a good idea. I got any ideas? Solve global warming. Okay, we don't want to go there. Solve global warming. How much money Google makes, how much it's worth, how much Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, how much these are worth, the rise and fall of the stocks value changes the income level of these employees, and it moves the California economy to the left, to the right. Because if Facebook is worth $40 a share, now it's worth $73 a share, suddenly there's a whole lot of people who don't have $10 million anymore, they have $20 million. And they have to pay taxes on that. And we feel that. We can feel that influx. You know, sitting and I live on the poor side of Sunnyvale. I can feel that influx. So I don't care about stocks, but when I watch how much money they make, I know how much my taxes are going to change. You see, just because of these companies and what they're worth.
With a wearable device, you can be going about the rest of your day and just glance down at your wrist, and the information you need is there right away without even having to ask for it. Watches are good at telling time, but imagine having useful, actionable information there precisely when you need it automatically. Today we're announcing that Android is extending to wearables. To bring this vision to life, we're working with consumer electronics manufacturers, chip makers, and fashion brands who are committed to fostering an ecosystem of watches in a variety of styles, shapes, and sizes.
So we designed an entirely new UI specifically for this form factor, and it's really based around voice and contextual information that's, reactive to your surroundings. Well, we put a lot of thought into how simple this has to be. It needs to be incredibly fast, incredibly glanceable. There's really only two components: the information that's most relevant to you and the ability to speak to it and do a quick command. All right, let's take a look. All the information you need when you start your day is right there. Today's weather, when your next meeting begins, how long it'll take to travel there, and important updates. Think about the times you need information most urgently. The stuff you care about moves with you from place to place, so you never miss out on the important stuff. You can respond naturally just by speaking. Reply, "Thanks. We'll get you something from New York." Or ask a question to get what you need. "Okay, Google, toy stores nearby."
With a wearable device, you can be going about the rest of your day and just glance.
What if you could wear a device, whether it be a clock, we're going to see glasses here in a minute, or just a stopwatch or something. I don't know. I'm going to ask you this question. What if you could get whatever information you needed instantly whenever you wanted it? What would you wear? How about a hat with a visor on it, maybe? I don't know. How about a earphone with a plug in it or something? How about if I were a skier and I wanted to know what the changes in the weather were going to be? I'm a downhill snow skier. What if I were on a cruise ship and I wanted to know what the weather was coming? What if I want to go and climb the Rock of Gibraltar? I want to know how many steps it took me to get up to, how many steps it's going to take me to get back. I don't know the answer to this question either. So imagine anything you wanted to know accessible to you anytime you want. All you had to do was look down. Or you could just ask the question, I wonder how much that picture costs. Oh gosh, it costs that much, and you get the answer there instantly. Because Google gets to the point where it can not read your mind as if it's like this prying into your secrets, where you have a rhythm to your daily life. And the more you program that rhythm to your daily life, the more it knows what information you're going to want to know before you actually know that. Well, isn't that interesting? Well, you might find that threatening, or you might find that invigorating, because now I don't have to think about that. I have other things I can think about because I become free to do that as well. Some people might find that invasive. Some other people might find that, exhilarating. Wow, now look what I can go do, because I don't have to do that. Hey Google, I want, you're laying in bed. You look at your alarm clock, say, "Get the coffee ready, Google." And when you get up and finally crawl out of bed, the coffee's ready. What? So, bring it to me. Well, I'm going to show you something that can do that. We have what's called driverless cars. Driverless cars. Now, when you get a driverless car, you're very, very close to having a robot, that can move about your house. So when I take my daughter to school, I see a car like this almost every single morning going down the road there's a driver in there, but his or her hands are not on the wheel. As far as I can see, they're just kind of sitting there looking like this and waving to people as they go by. But it's not perfected, so if something's going to happen, you got to be able to grab the wheel. But you see this, there's a little antenna that just kind of spins, programming its way. I see them every morning. So if I can drive around the world without putting my hands on there, I can surely navigate your house, or not, right? So it'll do that as well. So the challenge becomes, what can you imagine that you want done? Wow. And so suddenly we're wrestling with, what is it I would like to do in this world, isn't it? Because suddenly lots and lots of things become possible. I have a friend, Rick, who just did the heart attack thing. He had an aortic dissection or whatever they're called. So y'all might know what that is. His aortic almost popped. And so they fixed it, whatever. And now he has a patch just stuck it on his chest. And back at Stanford, they can see what his heartbeat's doing from that little patch on his chest. He can look down, he can see what it's doing. So, all of medicine becomes instantly at our disposal there. Wow. So if I had a doctor and he's operating on me, I don't want a doctor who got a C in heart dissection, right? I want a guy who got A+, and if the one question he missed, I want him to know the answer when he needs to know it. So he can be cutting away at my heart. He can look up in his glasses. He can find the answer. Oh, I need to do that. Because all the information you need is instantly available when you want it. So I need this now. You ask the question, here comes the answer. So Google's now buying into robots. You want someone to navigate your house? We got robots, right? These are the glasses. You wear these glasses. I borrowed some. And it's just look like regular glasses, except a little bitty screen hangs down over the side. This is a little bitty screen. It can't be more than 1/2 inch wide by 1/4 inch tall. And you think, I can't even see the screen, much less read what's on it. You can. I thought I couldn't, but I could. The glass will read your mind because you tell it what you wanted to know. Give me this information on this date at this time. So here I'm sitting at the bread shop getting ready, to munch on a cookie or something, and the glasses will tell me, oh, you got an appointment, dude, in about 6 minutes. You better hustle. Because I have told it that I wanted to do. And I don't have to be techie. I just tell it. I have an appointment on the 13th at 7 o'clock at downtown, and it'll log it in there for me and then remind me when I need to know that sort of thing. It'll take pictures for me. Google, take a picture. Take a picture. Well, that's interesting, right? And it'll do it hands-free. I don't have to reach up. I don't touch nothing. I don't have to push nothing. I just command it to do what I want it to do. And all of these things that as much as I feel comfortable with, all of these things I can share with whomever I want to share it with. Because it's social. Now, that doesn't mean everybody knows everything. Everybody knows everything that I want them to know if I choose to tell them that. So I can take a picture. If I put on my glasses now, I can take a picture. Say, Google, take a picture. Send it to Mia. Mia's my daughter. And it'll show up in her email box, and she can see what I'm doing right now and who I'm looking at. Take a picture. I don't have my glasses. You see what I'm saying? Because it's sociable. Now, that's cool. I don't care what you think. I think that's cool. I can take, the last time I was on Royal Caribbean, I was doing St. Thomas and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember. And so this is back before Google Glasses, but I got my little cell phone out, and on my cell phone, I called up Google Hangouts, and then I had my wife and my daughter log in at home on Google Hangouts, and I just walked around with my camera, and I took them on a tour of the ship. I'd walk around, and they got to enjoy the ship with me. Because it's social, I can share with who I want to share with. Isn't that cool? I don't even need to hold the phone anymore. I can use my glasses. It will translate for me. How much is that? Well, it'll tell me how to say that in Italian or Spanish or Portuguese. It'll translate for me. So can you imagine? It will share what I see. I can now record what I see. I can be going down the hill. I didn't want you to see that, honey. I'm sorry. But I can stream. It's called stream. I can live stream whatever it is I'm doing and share it with whoever I want to see watch that. You remember I remember my dad. He's old enough to be my dad. I guess that makes sense. But he saw the French Connection. Y'all remember the French Connection? That was the first time where the cars actually went through all the. And he said my butt puckered, and he made other more specific comments, but I won't go there. But it'll do that for you. You know, Facebook just spent $2 billion for a virtual reality firm. Well, Google is allowing us to do that already. Right? Google's allowing us to do that already. Just put on the glasses, I can share with anybody I want who's sitting in front of a screen, wherever they are. Well, is that interesting? So the challenge becomes, what can you dream? What can you imagine? You know, the whole thing about the phone. See, this is a great debate that we have in the Valley. Apple makes very good products, but it's called closed. There's nobody who can do anything on Apple except Apple people. Google is open. It's called open source. It's closed source versus open source. Open source, Google creates the Android system that anybody can get in and fiddle with and throws it out. And now, what can you all do with it? You remember the guy with the glasses? We just made this open up to the public. We're curious to see what people will do with this. I'm curious to know as well. Wow. How big can you dream? You know, Google's talking about a moonshot. Not moonshot as in, wow, that's a tremendous try, but we couldn't do it. No, they want to go back to the moon. They want to do it privately. They give $10 million to the first people who can launch aircrafts to do that, spaceships to go there. So they're just throwing money at people, say, go, dream, dream. First one there, I'll give you more money so you can do it bigger. And it's all social. We can share with who we want to share with. We can make, again, those subjective determinations. I think this is good, and I trust Jerry, so I think her opinion is worth something like that. And so there's a credibility factor that goes in with what you share, rather than just people sharing nonsense. Remember the 40% babble factor, this babbling nonsense on Twitter. Almost half of everything that goes on Twitter is useless. Not on Google. Although it's scammed, it's spammed, we get that, but then we get around that by registering as authors and seeing who else is registered, that sort of thing. It'll give you directions. I don't need glasses to do that, I got my wife. Right? Give me directions, right? So Google's created these soccer balls. These soccer balls float. They just kind of float around in your house. Well, they built them and they use them on the space station because they don't want people to go outside the space station all the time. So they just throw the soccer ball out there, and the soccer ball just kind of makes its way around the space station to find out what's good and what's bad. And there's little cameras on all these, and they send that camera back. Well, how long is it going to take before a soccer ball size product becomes a tennis ball? And it becomes a ping pong ball, becomes a chip, right? Well, so they, not only do we not have to go there, we can send inanimate objects to places where we can't go. I wonder what it would feel like to fall off the Grand Canyon, right? Kick the soccer ball down there and watch, down I go. Talk about virtual reality. We can now experience virtual reality. How big can you dream? What can you imagine? I don't know if you're feeling overwhelmed. You know, when we were kids, you know, we dreamed of flip phones when we watched Star Trek. We can do that. We used to, hello, Dick Tracy, right? We can do that. So what can you imagine? What are the kids dreaming about now? My wife and I are talking about that a couple of days ago, maybe while we're on the trip. I wonder what my daughter's going to be dreaming. I want her to see that. She can actually see that happen. Isn't that cool? The foundation that we have laid for our children and our children's children. I'll tell you a proverb here in a minute about that. So gentrification, that's a $40 word for you go to school to learn how to be a gentleman. Not, Google sends these buses all over the Bay Area. Google employees, Google nerds move into poor areas of San Francisco because the rent's real cheap, but the people who are renting the place know that it's worth, that these guys can pay a whole lot of money, so they keep raising the prices until the people who lived there in the beginning cannot afford to live there anymore, and they kick them out. That's called gentrification. And so it's not all love and peaches and cream. Sometimes there's problems.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs you to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My parts broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were two paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing unless your dream's stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, that's right. He retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. But if we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. So everybody's due to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pep talked. Great.
You've just been pep talked, he said. They call him the kid president. The kid president. Let's do awesome, he said. Let's do awesome. Right? Don't just sit there. We're all on the same team. And so, I want to tell you a proverb, and I hope I say this right. And the proverb is a Chinese proverb. It's called Yi Gong Yi Shan. I said it right? Yi Gong Yi Shan. Great proverb. And you can say, how could the Chinese say so much in four little characters? But there's a story that goes behind this Yi Gong Yi Shan. And it's about an old man who lives in a tent, wakes up one morning, he walks outside the tent, and he sees a mountain. He said, man, I wish I could see without a mountain there. So he makes up his mind, this old dude makes up his mind that he's going to grab a shovel and go move the mountain. One shovel load at a time. Well, he's already old, so there's no way he's going to be able to move that entire mountain before he's done. But see, that's not what's important. What he realizes is that if he begins to move that mountain now, when he's gone, somebody else will pick up the shovel and continue to move the mountain. And then when that person's gone, if the mountain's still there, somebody else will pick up the shovel and begin to move the mountain until the mountain's gone. Now, that's the beauty of the Chinese. They have such a deep, deep history that they can see far, far beyond now. Doesn't have to happen in our lifetime, sometimes does it? Because we have kids, and our kids have kids, and their kids will have kids, and their kids will have kids. So the question is, how big can you dream? And who else sees that dream that you have? And who else is going to see that? Who's that dream going to be passed on to? I used the word at the beginning that Google is a fantastic company. And what I meant by fantastic company is that it is a company filled with fantasy. The things we're talking about here sound like fantasy. We could not have imagined such toys, such gizmos. Who would have thunk, right? Well, the gift of fantasy has meant more to me than my talent for absorbing positive knowledge. Any idea who said that? The gift of fantasy. Sounds like a Walt Disney thing, doesn't it? Not at all. It's Einstein. Isn't that cool? To be able to see outside of what you could possibly imagine. To be able to fantasize, to be able to reach, to grasp, to go away up there. To see a mountain and think, I can move that mountain, and if not me, generations after me will participate until the mountain's gone. And then somebody will stand here and enjoy. So my question to you all this morning is, which mountains are you trying to move? What dreams are you all trying to dream? I have one more talk. It's going to be on the 8th, after we get out of Cartagena. Is that how you say that? Like Cartagena, what? Cartagena. So we get out of Cartagena, we leave there at 3. Right, we leave there at 3 o'clock, or the boat leaves at 3, and at 4 o'clock, I'm going to be back here at 4 o'clock is when I'm going to give my talk. And I'll do this because I do it. I'll put pressure on myself. The last one, the last talk, is my favorite. Up until now, I have just been getting warmed up. When I get on the 5th one, that's when I really get excited, because it's my favorite. I will tell you, and I get it. We're all sitting here wondering, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know which one. I only have so much time. I got to go cruising, but I got to do something. I get it. I don't know what to do. I will answer that question for you. I will answer that. I'll tell you what to do. If you want this, do this. If you want that, do that. If you want that, do that. If you want that, do that. And if you don't want any of them, do this. I will tell you which kind of social medium. I'll tell you which social medium is more powerful than all of the rest put together. There is one social medium that is far, 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 far more powerful than all of them put together. I will show you how to change the world with your fingertips. That'll happen on the 8th when we get out of Cartagena. Thank you very much for being here. There's another event coming in right after this, so we're going to have to kind of hustle out. We got like 6 minutes. I'd be glad to answer questions while I pack up. If anybody's got any questions, fire away. Well, Google Translate, it's a machine, so it does the best a machine can do. I can speak Japanese as well as I speak English. All right, so when I do translations, I will grab a Japanese word and I'll translate it into English when I'm researching. The next thing I'll do is I'll grab that English word and I'll translate it back into Japanese because I want to make sure both see both. Well, see, Google works really hard at that. You know who does that for them? We do. So that's the whole Google Plus factor. If you're online and you're reading something that has been translated and you think, this is dumb, tell them it's dumb and they'll fix it. The Google Scholar, I don't even know what Google Scholar is. I haven't heard of that. Oh, footnote. Okay, well, see, you know something I don't know. It's a way to attach a reference. Well, see, Wikipedia is peer-reviewed, but the peers are peer. So it is. That's why I don't let my students reference Wikipedia, because it's, who knows who's doing what. It's the same thing with scholars. I can say this. I hope I offend some people who are academics. Academia is a whole lot of incest there. It's inbreeding. I'll agree with you if you agree with me. Well, I don't want people to agree with me who agree with me. I want to change people's mind. Then I know I'm right. You see, so peer reviews, we're getting beyond the scope of Google, but the whole point of the Google Scholar is for someone to get in there and say, that's not what I see. I've got this research. And only when you change people's minds do you begin to get quality. Everybody agreeing with everybody. I think it was George Patton, the General George Patton. He said, if everybody in the room agrees with one another, then somebody's not thinking. Oh, factual. Right. He did? Okay, well then you go to Soul Pancakes it's called, and say, hey, 9-year-old dude, you messed that up. He got Michael Jordan wrong too. But I'm sorry, but you can go to them. That's the beauty of the social online medium, is you can engage with people. So his name is Soul Pancakes. I don't know, obviously he doesn't do all his work himself, but yes, ma'am. Well, Google Voice is like a text function, like an answering phone. You can buy a phone number. I haven't done this for a very, very long time, because so Google Voice is nothing than registering a phone number with Google, and people can call that number and they don't need to know your personal number anymore. And that's what Google Voice does. But your own cell phone is, Google is integrated well enough with your cell phone. You don't need to use Google Voice anymore. You don't need a text messaging service either. If you have a Gmail account and a smartphone, you can do all your texting via Google's Hangout. So you don't have to pay for texting services anymore. That's called what? That's called disruption. The text messaging services are mean. They're mad now. Google Hangout used to be called Google Talk. It's like a Skype. You know, Skype, you get on, you do video interaction, do talking, do chatting. Well, Google has their version. It's called Google Hangouts. And it's just like a Skype, except it's run on Google. Do you know what Skype is? All right, Skype is a video interface that you can interact with via video on your desktop. I can call up Skype here, and if I had a more reliable internet or faster bandwidth, I could call up a video. My daughter would be sitting at the kitchen table looking at her computer on the thing called Skype, and we could look at each other and talk. Skype, S-K-Y-P-E, S-K-Y-P-E. Before my in-laws moved to here, my wife would get on Skype every Saturday night, and she would talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. Honey, you coming to bed? With her parents in China. And you do that for free. It's a video talk online. Yep, the Google Hangout is called. FaceTime. So Apple is called FaceTime. Okay, we're going to have to get out so the next group can get in. Thank you very much for being here. See you in a couple days.